afternoon. Thank you. It took a guest to greet properly. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa this fine afternoon. What a beautiful day. The sun came up, the sky is blue, and we're moving on. Congratulations to... It didn't end. I don't know if Karen Keith is here this morning, but as a member, we sure do appreciate her service and her successful election yesterday. She's probably in bed. This is a club. We're a bunch of good people, and I think for the most part, we are a bunch of great people doing great things in the community and around the world. So thank you for being here. Let's turn real quick and say hi to somebody you haven't had a chance to greet yet this morning. Well, we have an exceptional program for you this morning. So if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started. Our invocation this morning is by Kathy Gurrell. The pledge is by past President Corey Nickerson. And visitor introductions are by Michael Turner. So now, if I could have Kathy for our invocation.
So, good afternoon. Will you join me in prayer? Dear Lord, while some are celebrating, others are grieving. At such a time as this, with so much disunity within the country, we pray that we might mend our differences and come together within this great country. Bind us together under the banner of freedom, our rights guaranteed under the Constitution, and the liberty of self-rule, and cause us never to forget the blessing of our freedom. As we celebrate Veterans Day, we thank you for the men and women who have stepped forward and answered the call to keep America safe and protected. We would ask a special blessing for them as they are being honored this week. And now we thank you for our food and conversation around the table, and may our service be a blessing to others. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I feel like a minister. Happy afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Very happy to have everyone here, especially on November 9th, 2016, but even more importantly with Veterans Day on Friday, November 11th. And Jerry Dillon wanted to make sure and remind everyone that tomorrow is the 241st Marine Corps birthday. Thank you, Jerry. And there's some Marines in the audience as well as other veterans. Very proud to have you here. I'm going to introduce our guests and our host Rotarians. We'll ask that both the guests and the Rotarians please stand, but please hold your applause until the end. Scott Petty has two guests with him today, Maureen Petty and Allison Longer. Lynette Potter has two guests, Morris Noskar and Valerie Bowen. They're both with the Patriot Guard Riders. Thank you so much for your service. Michael Willis today, County Clerk-elect, has with him Sergeant Chris Witt, Tulsa Police Department, former Marine as well. Lynette Potter, God, Lynette, has another one, her husband, Dave Potter, but he wouldn't give me his name, so I had to drag it out, but it's good to have him here. And her, did I say husband? I think I said husband. Yeah. Oh, Rick Stern. Sorry. She told me, yeah, she was giving me weird information before. Good to have you here, also a Marine. Scott Philstrap has two folks with him today, Rick Stearns and John Fisher. And John O'Connor has with him Dan Simone. Forrest Cameron has with him Art Rasher. We also have with Corey Nickerson, Donald Ryan, and Barron Ryan, who we will see in a few minutes. Very extremely talented. Corey hangs out with good, talented crowds. Deaf Wheel has Garrett Tavener, Terry Tavener, Jim Webster, and Scott Iverson. Is that correct? 3, 4? 3? Okay, 3. Or Stephen Iverson. I don't have a Rotarian listed. You don't have a Rotarian? Would someone please reach out to him? Please? I'm sorry. We're usually very welcoming. Sorry about that. Yeah. Ken Snoke has two folks today, his wife, Georgia, and his son-in-law, BJ. Good to have you here. Lynette Potter. Dave Berlin? That's the same, right? Why'd you put him down twice? Thank you, Lynette. You only get 2 counts, though. Sandra Mullins has Mary Kane. Good to see Mary again. Thank you for coming. Jerry Bananos has Bob Wilcox. Let's please give a round of applause for all of our guests today. And we also have a few Rotarians. Some of our speakers, they traveled from Mountain Home, Arkansas. Beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful waters, Buffalo Rivers, kayaking, etc. But they're also our speakers. But that's Larry Nelson, Brenda Nelson, but they'll be introduced later. But it's great to have Rotarians from Mountain Home, Arkansas. That's a pretty good distance. Did they win the distance thing today? Harlan Pinkerton with Sand Springs. Clark Shackelford, Sand Springs. And David Bochard with Sand Springs. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Now, because you were Rotarians, you were sharp enough to figure out that with 2 grand pianos up here, and the fact that we only did the pledge instead of a song and a pledge, you knew something was up, right? Okay. No, you didn't figure that out. Well, many of you have already experienced the dynamic entertainment of Ryan and don't need an introduction. But since introductions sometimes serve as reminders, here's a few points. Donald Ryan is a native of Trinidad and Tobago. He came to the U.S. to study music and earned degrees from Oral Roberts University and the University of Tulsa. He holds a diploma from the 9th International Chopin Competition in Warsaw, has been inducted into the Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame, and has earned the distinct title of Steinway Artist. Growing up around his artist father, it's no surprise that Barron Ryan chose to play piano and has been on stage since the age of 4. He distinguished himself in piano studies at the University of Oklahoma and has been a featured soloist at the Oklahoma Jazz Hall and the Tulsa Performing Arts Center. Barron has won prizes in several piano competitions, including the Oklahoma-Israel Exchange Young Artist Competition in 2011. Donald served on the Piano Adjudication Committee for Crescendo Music Awards for a number of years, recusing himself only during the year that Barron competed with Crescendo. And now, 2 days prior to Veterans Day, it is my pleasure to give you Ryan in a salute to the armed forces. Those of you who are veterans, when you hear something familiar, stand up.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And if you were thinking about leaving a little early today, you might hang on. We have a special for you later in the program as well. We really appreciate all those that served our country. I have two boys that have been in the military and my father, and I was not able to serve, but I have a lot of pride for those that have and a lot of pride in those that couldn't and haven't. And I'd ask Jarl to come up to the side mic here. And he's got a little poem he wrote that he called me yesterday and recited, and it touched me in a special way, and I wanted to allow him the opportunity to tell us about it.
Okay. First, I have a confession. I have not served in the military. Most of that had to do with when I was born. I was only 10 when World War II started and 15 when it was over. But I've been to a number of celebrations like this. And when they play the tune for a branch of service and the veterans stood, I tried to slink down in my chair, hoping that no one would notice that I never stood. And from those experiences, though, I received an inspiration to write this short poem. When the veteran stands each in his place, I see in his face pride in the memory of a world with a job well done, a battle fought, and a victory won. When the veteran stands in his place, I see in his face a look not so good, perhaps the memory of a comrade falling where he stood. When the veteran stands each in his place, I see in his face something I do not know and never could, because I've not stood where he has stood. I will not know, nor can I say the measure of the debt I owe and cannot pay. Thank you, veterans.
Thank you so much, Jarl. For those of us that didn't get the opportunity to stand. I'd like to talk a little bit about our upcoming programs. November the 16th, that's next Wednesday at noon in this facility, we're going to celebrate our work in the community of Tulsa. And we're going to celebrate that through our Club Foundation celebration. We, of course, participate in the Rotary Foundation, which is international work, but we're very involved in our own fund that does work with local charities. So we're going to celebrate some of the gifts we've given to those charities. We're also going to celebrate some of the work we've done, and it should be a really encouraging and uplifting and informative meeting for our club to celebrate everything that we've done these first 6 months and the last 6 months in the community. On the 23rd, it's our Thanksgiving program, and Ken Chapman, a future member of ours coming in, is also the captain of the Salvation Army in this area. So he's going to be giving that message. We look very much forward to that. He's new to the area, so it'll be one of his first, if not his first, speaking engagements. So we look forward to that. November the 30th, we have an Energy in Tulsa panel. A New World Order. And this will speak to how the changes in the energy sector have affected the Tulsa area, and it will be a panel of experts from different disciplines of the energy sector. So that'll be very, very good program, very informative. Our sponsor today is Mark Gray with Inverness Village. We really appreciate all our sponsors. They enable a lot of work that we do for our club, and let's acknowledge them at this time. If I could invite Tim Caldwell up now, we have a memorial resolution.
Thank you, President John. Well, fellow Rotarians, our fellow Rotarian Glenn Allen Wright, age 78, passed away peacefully at home on Monday, April 11th, 2016, at the end of a very long and difficult disease. Glenn was born in Tulsa on September 10th, 1937, to Claude and Brooksy Wright. He attended Lee Elementary, Horace Mann Junior High, and the Oklahoma Military Academy, then graduated from Tulsa Central High School in 1955. He earned his BBA in 1961 at Hardin Simmons in Abilene, Texas, where he began his career as a landman for Sun Oil. He entered sales with Frank Wheatley Industries as Vice President of West Coast Operations, returning to Tulsa in the late 1960s. In 1976, Glenn purchased and was then president of Major Controls, building a successful company with his famous Major credit card, and with the help of wonderful employees who became lifelong friends. Upon his short-lived retirement, Glenn pursued his love of aviation, moving from passionate volunteer to the founding president and then executive director of the Tulsa Air and Space Museum in 2010. The museum was draped with enthusiasm of Glenn, from the F-14 Tomcat he successfully managed to have donated from the Navy, to his own World War II Navy Bell helicopter that hangs today over the entrance to the museum. He served in the U.S. Army and Air Force Reserve during the Korean War period. Now, Glenn was always engaged with the community. He was a 32nd degree Mason and a member of the Shriners and the Royal Order of Jesters. He was also a member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, the Southern Hills Country Club, Tulsa Zoo Friends, and he was a regular visitor at the Rotary Club of Crested Butte, Colorado. His all-time favorite activity was the Tulsa Running Club. Now, wherever Glenn went, he loved to meet people, and he was anxious to learn about their lives. He was a story guy. He enjoyed telling them and hearing them. He considered his family and friends the many blessings in his life. He loved Tulsa and the leisure time he spent in Crested Butte with friends there. Glenn was preceded in depth by his parents, Claude and Brooksy Wright, and his sister, Patricia Wright Gillum Forgus. He is survived by his wife, who is here with us today, his wife of 59 years, Judy Wright, daughters Elizabeth Wright and Tracy Wright Owen, and his older brother, who's also with us here today, Lloyd Wright. Therefore, let it be resolved that the Rotary Club of Tulsa extend our deepest sympathies to Glenn's family and many friends. On behalf of the club, we ask that our membership endorse this resolution's approval by standing and sharing in a moment of silence.
Thank you very much, Tim. And thank you to the family for being here, but more importantly, thank you for sharing Glenn's time with us. He was very much appreciated and very much loved, and I always saw him at everything that I was at, so he was a very good Rotarian. I'd like to call up Catherine DeCamp, who's already ahead of me, our Sergeant of Arms.
Hey.
Catherine, nice to see you today.
It's nice to see you. Thank you, veterans, for all that you've done for us. Great program today. So let's get started on our fines. For those of you who are here visiting, we have fines that help everybody have a way to easily contribute money into our foundation which supports wonderful local programs. At the end of the program, we're going to talk about our international programs that we do. But for right now, let's talk about local. So today's finds, we're going to start out with Karen Keith. I'm going to actually show this again next week. She's in New York today, and she told me about this fine last week, and she said, you know, I don't know which way it's going to go. But she said, so I don't know what to say. And then she said, no, I know what to say. Regardless of the outcome, I just want to thank everybody for their encouragement and support. But it was also her birthday on November 6th. So we're going to pretend next week like we didn't show this slide, and that way we can give her a big applaud. We can applaud her birthday and celebrate her win yesterday. So there you go. And Bob Lineker, my wingman over here, he paid a $100 fine to thank John O'Connor for doing some exceptional work for their family. And I love it when Rotarians do things with other Rotarians. I think that's amazing, and it's one of the benefits is knowing that you can do business with people who you trust because they're all going to pass that same test. Yes, yeah. I love that. So thank you, Bob, for that generous donation. Joel Matson, where's Joel today? Oh, see, he didn't come after he told me that if the Cubs won, that he would probably up at another 108. So this is that slide that we talked about last week, and then I told him I'd show it this week, and he said, if they win, you know, I might give you another 108. So I'm just going to fine him 108. Okay, we'll just do that.
Sounds good.
I'll tell him that we, as a majority, ruled that he owes us $108. Okay, our very last ticket auction is going to be held on November 24th. The game is going to be December 3rd. It is two teams, maybe you know them, maybe you don't. It's OSU versus OU. And these are the sweet seats. These are 50-yard line. And so start.
No, these aren't. Sorry.
No, they're not?
This is at OU this year. Thank goodness.
Oh, it is?
Yes. So you can auction off the 50-yard seats, but they'll be very lonely at Stillwater.
Well, somehow I messed that up in my notes. I've done all this really good tracking of all of these, and I apologize. But doesn't matter where it's going to be. We've got tickets, and we've got tickets for auction. So,
and the great thing is they are good seats, and you get to sit with Tim Nall's sister, which is a delight. More delightful than Tim, by far.
I'll argue that. Tim and Barbara are pretty awesome. So, okay, so bring your money, save it up. Save up your milk money and be here. So now, you all know that I have been pretty slack on sending you emails and making you pay me fines. So you're going to either have to start sending me fines, or I'm going to make everybody turn their silence off of their phones, and then every time a phone rings, we're just going to make you pay fines that way. So go ahead and send me some fines. I'm really easy to contact, or just come see me after the show, and then we can talk about money. So thank you again for all you do.
Thank you, Catherine. Excuse me a second. I got to do something real quick. Got to make sure that, I hope she doesn't beat me. I got to make sure that Catherine's phone is turned off. So we'll let it ring. We have a couple of committee meetings. Is it off? It's off. Okay, good. Darn. Okay. Well, we tried. We have a couple of committee meetings today. Camp Enterprise, the kickoff meeting for Camp Enterprise is room 232. You all need to go to that one for sure. It is a great signature program for our club. It's a great way to have a lot of fun. You will lose 20 years if you go. I mean, you'll feel 20 years younger. It will take you about 3 days to recover, but it is very rewarding, not only for yourself, but of course, for the juniors that we sponsor and teach about the free enterprise system. So room 232 after the meeting day, and Rotary Youth Exchange Scholarship interviews. We have an interview with an outbound student. That is also very fun and delightful, and that will be in rooms 233 and room 234. Please join if you can. Some announcements today. Tom Klenda, who was the one that announced our, yes? That's good, because I don't have them down here. Okay, thank you very much. I don't look at the screen, so I appreciate it. Tom Clinton informed me there's no additional nominations received by today's deadline for any of the offices for the club. Therefore, per our club bylaws, I declare the nominations closed and thus those unopposed elected by acclamation. So as a reminder and a congratulations to President nominee Hannibal Johnson, Secretary Treasurer-elect Jerry Barrientos, Sergeant at Arms Charles the Blonde Seacrest, and Club Foundation trustees Duff Weddle and Scott Philstrip. They will begin their service by taking office July the 1st of 2017. As a reminder, of course, we have our at-large candidates. That election process will be December the 7th. If you want to cast multiple ballots in advance, it's one ballot, I'm sorry, we do it right. Alicia Herrera, Tim Nall, and Jeffrey Rudd are nominees to be elected for the at-large position. You can go to the club website, download the form, submit the form between today and November the 23rd. No, actually, December the 3rd. So please vote and support those three nominees. There are cards on your table for past President Linda Bradshaw, who had shoulder surgery. I can't get two S's out in a row. She's recovering. Please jot her a note of support and sympathy, and also a card for Jack Hawes, who is undergoing treatment for cancer. So please give your words of encouragement and prayers to the Hawes family. Would all those who helped plan and conduct take a seat, this is almost contrary, stand up this past Monday, and let us recognize you. What a great event. You can be seated. Take a seat, stand up. Congratulations to Becky Fields and everyone that assisted. It was an awesome, awesome event. I was not invited, but I'll go next time. We had over 50 women in the Tulsa area attend, and from what I hear, they were very, very excited and interested in the Rotary Club of Tulsa, but more importantly, becoming engaged in the community of Tulsa. So we appreciate your efforts and applaud them, and thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Rotarian of the Day, Scott Petty. Scott was president of Petty's Fine Foods, a Tulsa treasure for 70 years that has and will be greatly missed. He joined our club in October of 1976 and served in a number of leadership roles, culminating with his service as club president in '87 and '88. He is both a Club Foundation Fellow and a Paul Harris Fellow. Scott is a lifelong Tulsan and Oklahoman. He was born, educated, married, built a business, and served his community most notably through Rotary, all in the Tulsa area. He also served our country as a U.S. Army assault helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War, receiving the Bronze Star, 5 Air Medals, and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. Ron concluded his military service in 1972 at the rank of captain. Please help me welcome our Rotarian of the Day, past President Scott Petty.
Thank you, Rotarians. It's a great day in America, and I think Kathy hit it right, that as Americans we can all join together and on this Veterans Day honor our veterans. And I'm so glad to see the Wright family here today, great Tulsa family, welcome. And I think of my friend Jerry Cornelius, a longtime Rotarian that you all knew, who always proudly stood up and reminded me there are no former Marines. I can hear him saying it now, and miss him this year. You know, as we meet here today, there are veterans around the world, or excuse me, servicemen around the world, men and women in harm's way serving our country. And I hope that all of us can cause our political system and our legislators to take care of these veterans when they come home. I think that's very, very important, and I hope we can do that. We have a great program today. Larry and Brenda Nelson met in a musical performance group at the University of Arkansas and were married 47 years ago. They have 2 married children and 5 grandchildren, all who live in Northwest Arkansas. Larry retired from First Security Bank of Mountain Home in June 2009 after a 37-year career at the same bank, 25 years as president and chief executive officer. He has been a past president and member of the Rotary Club of Mountain Home, and that's a beautiful place if you haven't been there, since 1972. Served 3 years as an assistant governor of 6110. He is an inaugural graduate of the 2012 District Leadership Academy, where he currently serves as an instructor, and he is also on the District Grants Committee. Brenda retired from KTLO Radio in 2009 after 34 years on the air as a morning talk show host. She joined Rotary in September 2009, where she has served 4 years as chairman of the Public Relations Committee. They have implored me to cut this short, so I'm going to, because they have a great program. So please welcome Brenda and Larry Nelson. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us to be here this day. Coming up on the special salute to veterans this week really means a lot to us, and we hope that what we do today will be a fitting tribute to those that have served this country. All of the photos that you will see today, Larry and I have taken on the actual missions that we're going to share with you. And it's really not important at all that you even look toward the podium. We are not the story today, but the pictures that you will see on the screen, they tell what we want you to know.
When we bought our first motorcycle about 5 years ago, the previous owner told us about a group that stood flag lines at funeral services for veterans. I looked up their website and I found this information. This is a quote. The Patriot Guard Riders, or PGR, is a 100% volunteer 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our main mission is to attend the funeral services of our country's heroes, fallen military, first responders, and honorably discharged veterans, to show our respect for them and their service, and to shield them from any unwanted interruptions. And we participate only as invited guests of the family.
If you saw the movie American Sniper, you probably stayed to the end where you saw the real funeral procession for Chris Kyle. We took him from Dallas to the Texas Cemetery in Austin. And the final video showed thousands of PGR motorcycles who escorted this American hero over 200 miles through a pouring rain. And just recently, YouTube broadcast the procession for the 6 policemen killed in Dallas. The video of the motorcycle escort lasted over 4 minutes because there were so many committed riders. That is what the PGR does.
Quoting again from their website, the group was formed in 2005, and although initially founded by motorcyclists, the organization is open to anyone. But we have one thing in common. We have an unwavering respect for those who risked their very lives for America's freedom and security. We don't care if you ride or what you ride, what your political views are, whether you're a hawk or a dove. It's not a requirement that you be a veteran. The only prerequisite is respect. There are no membership dues, no minimum number of missions to ride per year to remain active. We receive notifications of upcoming missions in email in our area, and each of us pays our own way on missions and attend whenever we can.
Since Larry is a veteran of the Vietnamese War, we knew that this was something that we really wanted to do, so we signed up immediately. And our first mission was in August of 2012 for an 89-year-old U.S. Marine veteran of World War II and a local fire chief in Gainesville, Missouri. Riders from Arkansas met with the Missouri riders at the staging area outside the funeral home. The first part of the mission was to stand a flag line before the funeral. The second part was to provide an escort to the cemetery with local fire trucks and emergency personnel following behind us. At the cemetery, Marines provided military honors, including a 3-volley salute and the presentation of the folded American flag to his family. We stood on a tree-shaded hill in a small country cemetery, and there were cattle and horses grazing in the field below us. And on this, our first mission, when they began to play taps over our right shoulder, I absolutely dissolved into tears. And then,
since this was a funeral of a firefighter, some of the firefighters who had accompanied us to the cemetery stood in a semicircle around the gravesite with us in the flag line. Near the end of the ceremony, I heard one of the firefighters give the command, "Firefighters, pagers on." And I thought, the funeral's not over yet. What are they turning their pagers on for? And I heard this call, "Fox 28, respond." And I thought, how terrible is that? Fox 28, respond. And just before I was going to go tell the firefighters what I thought of their disrespect, y'all have been there, hadn't you? I heard the final call, "Fox 28, Mr. Fox, we're going to miss you." And I remember the name of the man we were putting to rest was named Albert Fox.
in October of 2012, we rode for PFC Lawrence Young. He was only 22 years old when he died in an accident at Fort Hood. And his father, who is a PGR member, led the motorcycle escort to the Missouri Veterans Cemetery outside of Springfield, where full military honors awaited Private Young. In November of 2012, we were asked to attend the services for Kenneth McCutcheon, a member of the U.S. Navy Reserve. We stood the flag line beside fellow Rotarians, James and Terry Coates, shown here with us, and they are both doctors and both PGR members from the Harrison Rotary Club. In April of 2013, we headed down the mountain once again to meet up with the Central Arkansas PGR on this special mission.
Captain Truett Talbert, Jr. was the last skipper of the submarine USS Razorback, which is permanently moored on the Arkansas River in North Little Rock. The ceremony was a burial at sea with full military honors. You Navy guys know this, but in the Navy, the ship's captain is referred to by the name of the vessel he commanded, in this case, Razorback. When the ship's captain boards or departs the ship, sailors standing watch make an announcement to the crew, and they ring the bell. This boat's bell was rung as Captain Talbert's ashes were placed in the Arkansas River by his surviving family, and it was announced, Razorback departing.
We always hold the staging area somewhere near the mission and always in a place that's large enough to accommodate all the bikes. This is a time that I like to go around and photograph some of the amazing artwork on these motorcycles, plus some of their patches, hats, and insignias of members. On Memorial Day 2013, PGR members across Arkansas were invited to participate in the ceremonies held at the Arkansas Veterans Cemetery in Sherwood. Then Governor Mike Beebe and dignitaries from all branches of the service laid the wreath and honored those buried at the cemetery. The 3-volley salute and the playing of taps are always some of the most emotional moments of any mission. The symbolic empty table is set for prisoners of war and missing in action. The place settings represent all 4 branches of the service and are a reminder that they are not forgotten and that we continue to hope for their return, although that often seems impossible after so many years. But in an unbelievable mission, we joined with the Oklahoma PGR plus the Kansas and Missouri Riders to help escort the remains of U.S. Army Corporal Eldon Irvin, who had been killed in North Korea in 1950, 65 years ago. And I'm so pleased today that our ride captain for that event is with us today, and that is PGR Ride Captain Morris Nofsker. This old gentleman is Brigadier General Simmons, and he had served with Irvin in Korea and had actually seen him die in the freezing weather of December at the Battle of Chosin Reservoir. Years later, General Simmons wrote a book called The Frozen Chosin. And with information from that book, U.S. officials were actually able to finally recover his remains and return Irvin to his 5 living siblings. We stood his flag line in Miami, Oklahoma, and then we rode him to the cemetery in Seneca, Missouri. His sister told me at the cemetery that she had waited 65 years to lay flowers on his grave on Memorial Day. And as I stood there near the graveside, I thought, thank you, Lord. Tonight, they finally know where he is.
In 2013, we wrote a mission for our youngest service member, 19-year-old Marine Corporal Benjamin Tuttle, KIA, killed in action in Operation Enduring Freedom. This was a 2-part mission. First, on July 23rd, to provide escort from XNA Northwest Arkansas to Benton County Funeral Home. And second, 2 days later, to stand a flag line at the church, then to ride escort from First Baptist Church in Gentry to Caulfield Cemetery, some 13 miles away. As Tuttle arrived at XNA and was transferred to the hearse, the Patriot Guard riders were called to attention and given the present arms command. They responded with a 3-second salute, a slow display of respect, with veterans performing a hand salute and non-veterans placing their hand over their heart. Larry the flagman from Illinois contacted city officials in Gentry to see if they would recruit volunteers to help put up his flags if he brought them, and they found the volunteers. So 3,000 flags were placed at 6-foot intervals on both sides of the road from the church out the highway as far as they would go. Once we arrived at the cemetery, we picked up our flags that are provided by the ride captains, and we proceeded to the burial site to stand the flag line again. Near the end of the services, a U.S. Marine approached the grave site, rendered a slow hand salute, did an about face, and slowly walked away.
June the 14th, 2014, we met up with the local PGR unit in Arkansas for another service in Gainesville. We had been asked to stand a flag line for 30-year-old Gilbert Quintanilla, a U.S. Army veteran of 2 tours in Afghanistan, but who had come home and died of a congenital disease. We escorted him to his final resting place outside the town, with Larry and me riding sweep or drag directly in front of the hearse. A month later, we were back in Little Rock for the services of 22-year-old Army Sergeant Jamar Hicks, KIA, Afghanistan. While we were waiting for the church services to conclude, 2 Rotarians from Hot Springs saw the Rotary emblem on the front of our bike and came over for a visit. These were our ride captains that day, along with the military personnel, discussing the mission at the staging area before they gave us the details of the mission. Then we mounted up and escorted Sergeant Hicks to the Arkansas Veterans Cemetery with his young wife, baby son, and family following behind us. As we passed the honor guard, we noticed an old soldier who had been seated on this walker, now standing and raising his hand in salute as we brought the hero home. In the summer of 2014, we rode 3 missions with State Ride Captain David Cohn. The first was for 95-year-old Wendell Altag, a U.S. Navy veteran of the Pearl Harbor attack and one of the first U.S. Seabees. We escorted his body to a small family cemetery, and with only a few family members there and no friends who could perform the service, PGR members were recruited to serve as his pallbearers, and it was quite an honor to bear Mr. Altag home. Several months later, We met Central Arkansas riders for a flag line in Conway to honor 89-year-old PFC Julian White, who served with the U.S. Marines in the famous battles of Guadalcanal, Okinawa, Samoa, and Guam, for which he had been awarded the Presidential Citation for heroic performative duties in spite of his own serious injuries. At those services, we found out that there was another mission in Clarksville the next day, so we stayed over for the gravesite escort for 74-year-old Charles Howell, a veteran of the Korean War. Well, as you can tell, most of the missions that we ride are for veterans or fallen heroes, but we also stand flag lines and ride for law enforcement and emergency personnel as well if we are invited. Recently, we rode down to Fort Smith, Arkansas for the services of Sebastian County Corporal Bill Cooper, who had been killed in the line of duty. He died just 2 months before his retirement, and the canine cop that was with him had been shot twice, but survived the incident. We stood the flag line around the gravesite of this Vietnam veteran, joined by hundreds of military and law enforcement personnel from all over the United States. When the local firefighters, Fife and Drum Corps played Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, there wasn't a dry eye.
When we got the notice about this mission, we knew we had to do it, even if it meant a long, hot ride in the month of August. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Turner, a 17-year Marine Corps veteran who had served 7 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, had died in California. The mission notice read, Staff Sergeant Turner's family is not local to California, so his Marine family made all the arrangements for his services. Sergeant Turner's blood family will not be present for his service. The funeral home was instructed to send his urn to his mother in Georgia. We do not want this hero to be shipped back in a FedEx box. So we're in the process of putting together a cross-country relay of PGR members to take his ashes and his flag home to his mother in Georgia. So the Northwest Arkansas unit met the Oklahoma Patriot Guard riders at I-40 on the Arkansas border at Fort Smith. During a solemn transfer of Sergeant Turner's ashes and flag to our unit, we also received a plaque and PGR Bible for his mother, being signed here by Ride Captain David Dirtywater Cone. From there, our riders took him halfway to Tennessee, where we made the solemn transfer to the relay team from Central Arkansas. Our Ride Captain, Norm Breath, charged the new Ride Captain, Jerry Ashby, to faithfully discharge his duty to complete the Arkansas mission to Memphis. So, after several days, across 9 states by hundreds of volunteer riders, covering 2,150 miles, this went down as the longest Patriot Guard ride mission on record and became known as the Pony Express Ride.
Of all the 26 missions that Larry and I have now ridden, I think this next one was most special to me because I was always so thankful that Larry came home from Vietnam when many others didn't. This mission was called the Repatriation Services for U.S. Army Major Dale W. Richardson, who was 28 years old when he died during the Vietnam War. He was killed in action during a firefight on May the 2nd, 1970, but his remains had only recently been recovered. And finally, this decorated combat hero was returning home to Mountain View, Arkansas, after 45 years. We met Major Richardson and his family in Little Rock and escorted them to 130 miles nonstop to his hometown, where he received a hero's welcome. During the final 70 miles of the ride, we were overwhelmed by all the citizens and school groups that came out to show their respect. And now we invite you to ride along with us as we take Major Richardson home. This PGR patch reads, Almighty God, thank you for sending me on this mission. Please, Lord, give me the strength to stand for this fallen hero and accept this brave person in peace on the journey to your kingdom.
It has been our high honor to be able to ride with the Patriot Guard riders, standing for those who stood for us.
Thank you very much, Brenda and Larry. And you never know where life takes you and the twists and turns that you'll experience. And thank you for sharing yours with us. There's a book recognizing today's program. It will be donated to our Adopt a School. We give the books to their library, and it will stay in that library as long as it's useful for the children. After the meeting, or I'll have you inscribe a note to our kids, and we really appreciate you being here. Oh, great, great. The name of the book is The Great Seal of the United States. Let's also thank the volunteers that helped put this program together today. Their names are on the screen. Without them, this could not happen. I have a project announcement today. Actually, Michelle Place does, so if I could have Michelle come up, we'll let her tell us what she's got cooking.
Thank you all very much. That was very moving. Well, I've been in Rotary just over a year, and when I joined last year, one of the first things that came, well, now let me back up. I told the administration that I really didn't want to be in charge of anything. I wanted to be a follower. Okay, so then the Salvation Army bell ringers came up, and I looked at that board, and wow, that didn't seem so hard to do because everybody had already signed up. There was only one spot left for me to sign up. And so when the call came, would you be in charge of the, and so I said, oh, that's an easy job. Sure, I'll do it. Okay, folks, we have empty blanks out there, and I don't want you to let me down. So I will meet all of you who want to be Salvation Army bell ringers on Thursday, December 1st, right outside those doors. I've got 2 pins. I'll step out of the way, and you just put your name in. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michelle. So be careful joining Rotary. You might get infected. If we could have Catherine come back up, we're going to try to raise a little money for Rotary International. And we do this in a fun, unique way.
Little something for everybody when you do it this way. So today we're going to be drawing, our pot is up to $1,453. Woohoo! And so we're going to let, who would like to draw our winning ticket?
We'll let Brenda draw the ticket.
Do I get to split it?
You can split the split of the split.
You'll have to talk to Diane, right?
That's right.
Last three numbers?
Last 3 numbers.
745.
Who has 745?
745.
I have 745.
No, you get to go draw the card. So now I've officially won twice. I'm tied with Diane.
Yeah, I got nothing, okay? I promise none of these
Hey,
are
Larry,
ever rigged.
Larry, you get to go draw the card.
Yeah, come on over.
You haven't won anything yet, but the right to pick a card.
You can stay right there. So here's how it works. You're going to draw a card. You are going to hope for the Joker. If you pick the Joker, then you win half of our pot, and the other half goes to Rotary International.
Good.
And a small surcharge for me. No, just kidding. Not really. Okay, you ready for this? They've already been cut. So. Yeah, they're hard to fan. They're like really big cards.
Oh.
4 of hearts.
Thank you very much, Larry. Thank you, Catherine. As another reminder of our upcoming programs, the reason we remind you of the programs, not because you need it, but because it implants a seed in your brain of who you can bring to the following 3 programs. That would be November the 16th. Anybody that you know that works for a nonprofit. On November the 23rd, anybody you know that has a heart for the holidays and service and the Salvation Army and ringing the bells. And on November the 30th, any family member affected by the layoffs in the Tulsa energy sector. So we appreciate you thinking of Rotary, and thank you so much for coming, and we have a special treat for you right now. Never seen him move so fast. Thank you, Ryan and Ryan. And on your screens, you'll see a promo for a concert they have here. Once again, thanks for being with us. Happy Election Day, and congratulations to Karen Keith and Michael Willis for their elections. And the Rotary Club of Tulsa is still out there working. Thank you, and we're adjourned.